and I actually found a little bit more rust. We do have a hole in the sill up here. Welcome back to Living with a Classic, and here is the latest project car on the channel. This is 1975 Jaguar XJ-S, the very early one, beautiful V12 Grand Tourer. And if you want to see more on this car, I've already made 3 videos. I won't go through the same things again, so I'll link to those down below. But a really brief recap. Put off the road sometime in the late 80s, 88, 89. Restored at that point, so probably early 90s. Never put back on the road again because the interior was somehow lost and been sitting since then. I bought it, here we are. And one thing that is very, very cool about this project is that I have a sponsor. I have Simply Performance on board. They're very excited about this, and they make some great products and sell some great products for V12s and to upgrade them. So we're going to do a lot of fun things with this car. But it will be done in stages. So stage 1 is really, we're going to get it running right, doing everything needs to be done with the engine, doing the suspension and brakes and all of that, fixing some of the rust, getting it inspected, running and driving, doing the interior then. And then we'll continue to evolve the car. And at the end, I think we'll have a very, very cool V12 GT car, which will go like, word I can't say on YouTube, and will be totally awesome. But today I have it up on jack stands because I haven't really had a good look underneath. I want to have a look at the rear suspension, the front suspension, because everything should have been apart and, painted, powder coated in the early 90s and then never used. So yes, it has sat outside for a while, but things should probably look pretty good and just been out and everything. So we want to see if it leaks anything and sort of see what everything looks like. I'm expecting brake discs to be rusty and all that, and things to have surface rust on it, but hopefully everything looks pretty nice. We are up on jack stands, and the first thing I want to do is have a look over here. I want to have a look behind the wheel here and just see what the front brakes look like. I've removed all of the lug nuts except one, which is just finger tight, so we can take that off together, have a look beneath here. Because one fun thing I am going to do with this car, Simply Performance do sell EBC upgraded brakes, and I thought, it's never a bad idea to have even better brakes, even though these cars have good brakes from the factory. Since we are doing some other things to the car, why not upgrade the brakes? So I'm going to have a look at that, and they're most likely sending over some upgraded discs and some upgraded pads, and I will probably be restoring the calipers if they look to be in good shape. Otherwise, we'll get a used set of those. But let's start by having a look in here. Okay, let's just remove the last lug nut here. That's also one thing, I need to get a set of new lug nuts. They don't look that nice. Also, we're missing a bunch. Some wheels only have 3, some only have 2. So we're gonna get some of those. And of course, I'm gonna restore the wheels. But let's roll this away and then we'll see what it looks like. And I have brought a light. And wow, that does not look that bad. I just looked, in here before, and all this bodywork is very, very solid. I can see one thing, the shock absorber is red, so I'm guessing they put an upgraded Koni shock absorber. Just guessing, they usually are red. And all of this was definitely painted when it was off. Flaking in a couple places, but not bad. All of these bushings, they're dry, but they're not cracked. So I'm guessing that, they were probably brand new 30 years ago, but have never been used. And that caliper was, that was definitely rebuilt, because they don't look that nice when they're from 1975. And we have a new brake line there, and these new, better flexible brake lines there as well. It has to be replaced. That's 30 years old, but everything seems to be true. That everything on this car was basically brand new when it was put away It's quite a sad story what happened to this car, but that happens sometimes. And the discs are very much rusted. They could probably be taken to a shop and turned down on a lathe and brought back. But we're doing upgraded discs. But I'm not going to throw them away. I'll keep them in a semi-good pile. I can use them on another car if you just turn them on the lathe. Should be fine. We'll measure them later, but judging by how they look up here and how sharp they are on the edges, they are brand new. Just have not been used. But I'll bring you guys in for a closer look around here, but everything looks very good up front. And there you see that brand new brake line in there. Flexible line is new too. And honestly, I mean, at some point I will be replacing all the bushings. But in step one, we're just getting this thing on the road. So that means doing the brakes. And I think if no bushings, we don't find any playing anything, I'm going to leave that well enough alone for now. I mean, in the future, I can take things out and paint it and make it look even nicer. But I think step one is just getting this thing on the road. And not that much is needed up here, honestly. Discs, pads, and you can see it looks very nice in here. Now I'm going to put on some protective overalls and we'll crawl underneath and have a look at the rear suspension as well. Time to go underneath, and let's start by looking at the sills here. At least on this side, that's in really good shape. I mean, we are replacing the floor, and that is definitely needed. There, it's a bit crusty in there, that hole. So I am ordering a floor slide for this whole side, but everything back here around the jacking point is very solid. This is just some under seal sort of falling off. We do have a little bit right there, the back there. So there has to be a panel up there as well, but I mean, it's being supported up here. And I did hit all this with a hammer before and checked. It's very solid. But the tiny little panel in there, it's really not that bad. That's just from the water. It's been standing on the floor pan and, has to get out somewhere. So that does make sense. But this seems to be good. And underneath here we have what looks like a new stainless exhaust system, which was, once again, put on 30 years ago. And yeah, but more interesting thing, what does the rear suspension look like? And you may be wondering what that is doing there. That's just because, these are rubber mounted, and I don't know how good the rubber bushings are or the mounts. So if it falls, I want it to fall just on that stand there. But looking in here, we do have what looks like brand new calipers in the back as well. And the discs, actually the discs in the back don't look that bad. Except that there's some moss growing right in there. But honestly, those discs, you feel that. Yeah, those discs would actually pretty much work as they are. And the brakes do sort of work. And I'm guessing that actually the rear ones are the ones that actually work the best when I drove it in here. Because at least on that side, that brake disc is very clean. Otherwise, it looks like everything was off and painted. And it looks like everything was pretty much brand new 30 years ago. One thing I did see when I raised the car up is something has happened at some point. They've gotten caught on here and in there, so I'm guessing it has slid or something, or they've had an issue when they've moved it at some point. But that can easily be fixed, and that can be knocked out as well. Looks like that is under the fuel tank, so take the fuel tank out and knock that back out, but really not that big of a deal. Absolutely no play in that. And I mean, those are brand new lines all up there as well. Everything is nice and shiny. Parking brake is not connected up, which makes sense because nothing happens when I pull the handle inside the car. And someone has decided to put under seal all over the heat shields up here, which are, I believe, asbestos. But yeah, that's a matter of choice. Everything is... It's weird seeing a car like this underneath that's been sitting for so long that looks this good. They usually don't. Here is another hole that I have found on this side. The rest of the floor on this side is very, very solid. Sorry, I forgot to bring the light. It's very, very, very solid. So I think we will do a patch on this part over here. Go till here somewhere on this side of the floor, maybe out to here as well. But the rest of that is very, very solid up front as well. So I think we'll have to make do with, or it'll be enough to replace one of the floor plans. And yeah, a patch on this side should be fine. I'm guessing something happened over here as well when moving at one point, so there's a big buckle in there. We'll probably try and heat that a bit and knock that out. But otherwise, I mean, I'm seeing new brake lines, transmission mounts and things look good. Now let's look for some oil leaks. And transmission's not looking too bad. I mean, that's really not that leaky. And it's a very early XJ-S, and the early ones had, seems like some of the early ones had these canister style oil filters instead of the regular spin-on ones. But this one looks to be nice and dry. Could use some new green paint. And honestly, everything else looks pretty good. I mean, this is just greasy stuff. It doesn't even seem to be. And when it was running, the only thing I noticed was the power steering was leaking pretty badly out of this gator here, and the power steering wasn't working. So power steering rack will need to be rebuilt. And here we see on the other side as well, we see those new brake calipers. So I'll take those apart and we'll push out the pistons and replace the seals. Maybe replace the pistons if they are rusty, but if they're in good shape, we'll just polish them up and put them back in. And otherwise, this is just surface rust on all of these components in here. So I think step one is I'll just, scrape off as much as I can, rust treat that, and put some rust preventative paint on that, and that should be fine. But yeah, I'm not seeing any major leaks like here. We usually get leaks from the rear main seal. And tiny bit of wetness there, but I think that's from the power steering. Let's see if we can move this jack a little bit. And up front here, where they love to get oily, it's very, very dry. Okay, that alternator does not look happy. Definitely looks like there's been moisture up there. So, new alternator, definitely. But yeah, otherwise, I'll have to say I am thoroughly impressed. Right after I turned off the camera, I noticed one thing. Can you see it as well? Yep, you got surface rust there. But we're totally missing the jacking point, the round thing here. So they welded in this really thick plate here, and it seems very strong, but we are missing the jacking point. So that's something I probably want to address. You can get something called the toe board, which is this piece here up to about here. You can get that for both sides with a jacking point. So I'm guessing we're going to do those as well. This turned into a little bit more welding, I was thinking. And then I poked around a bit, and I actually found a little bit more rust. We do have a hole in the sill up here. But I'm thinking, I looked around the rest of the sill, so it is really just, my light is not cooperating with me. It's really just until pretty much here that needs to be replaced. and then probably a part of the inner sill as well, but that should definitely be doable. And yeah, you see the hole up in there. So that's once again from the water standing in the car, from it being outside all those years with a leaky front screen. Water had to exit the car somewhere. And on the other side, it shows a massive hole on the floor. And on this side, it seems like it shows here. So this was all paint, and when I pushed on it, yeah, I just made a hole with my thumb. But the rest of that sill looks really, really good. All right, so it was good news and bad news. Good news is that front rear suspension doesn't really look that bad. I don't think it will take that much to get it on the road. I mean, yes, in the future I would like to replace all the bushings and everything, but we got to think about this. It's a pretty big project, and we're doing a rolling restoration, which means getting it safe and on the road first, and then we'll continue. And I mean, at the end of the day, I want to paint this whole car as well and fix some of the imperfections in it. So, but I mean, I think it's more fun to do a rolling restoration, and that way you won't lose motivation as well. So we have an extreme sort of goal here for this car, and I'm going to share it now. I want to be able to drive this thing 2022. So hopefully at least, not Christmas, but hopefully, by the summer, late summer or something, I want to be able to drive this. That is my goal. If we'll meet it or not, we'll have to see, but I think it's good to have goals. Okay, I found a little bit more rust than initially wanted, but the good thing is I have a fabrication friend who is the one that's going to be welding my S-type, and I know he can make a piece of sill like that for me, because it's just a waste buying the whole sill if I only need a small bit of it. And he is a great fabricator. He also has an XJ-S, so he can use his car as a bit of a template, make up a sill for me, send it over, and I can hopefully weld that into place. But really good news, and now I can contact Simply Performance and we can discuss some of the first things we're going to do. So I think job one on this car, when I get the parts, will be front brakes or the rear suspension. And I think you guys will really enjoy those videos, because those are things we haven't done on the cars before. I haven't showed you guys. Lots of you guys have been begging about a rear suspension video, taking that out. And we will do that on this project, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, please let me know in the comments down below. What do you think of this project? Are you as excited as I am? Or am I just completely blinded by the rust or other things? But honestly, I don't think it's that bad. There is a rubberized undercoating underneath the car, sadly not the good kind. So I'm going to have to remove a lot of that. In many places I have pulled it, the metal looks good underneath, but I'm going to have to remove all of that just because water's been sitting in it, and it can get underneath anywhere, and you can find rust. But I have knocked everywhere underneath with a hammer, and only the places I've showed you now is where I have so far found rust. Everything else seems to be very, very solid. Anyways, if you like this video, please give a thumbs up, share it with your friends. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a lot. Until next time, I'm Adam. This was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.